The Diary of a Certified Psychopath. Off the Crank. Hampton Fort. A route as tried and trusted as any in my modest repertoire, christened in humorous homage to a certain famous Tudor palace's namesake maze, that it attempts to recreate somewhat closer to the coast, supplanting at least a mile of meticulously manicured hornbeam hedges, with a mind-bending tangle of unkempt shrubs and pebble-dashed tarmac, harbouring more treacherous twists and turns than the London Underground during rush hour, and which would likely stretch halfway to Tasmania if fully unravelled. Plodding, pondering, wondering and wandering, wherever a balmy, though far from Bahamian offshore breeze propelled me, followed by an interval or two of unstructured weeding, but strictly no watering, either from a sailor blue sky strewn with silver stratus veils, pearly mackerel scales, and the odd rain-bearing bale of cumulus hay, or the multi-pattern nozzle of a garden hose adapter, whose patented locking mechanism is engineered to break after precisely 107 quick attach and releases. Bloody things. Exit strategy. And as a discreet but mildly desperate plea to Strava's aerobically indoctrinated motion clinicians, who may be acting in autonomous service to whatever form of machine-learned sports science that their humanely trained algorithms anticipate will benefit the mental or physical fitness of mortal minds and bodies, kindly refrain from using the words steady or solid to describe any aspect of this intentionally heartless stroll to my high street's most prominent trader in cannily commercialised, mass-marketed commodities. Neither, I ask, should they paint a compulsively optimistic picture of my condition, based on what was a deliberately funereal pace, to ensure that I didn't wander past the last bottle of this cooperative store's house-branded cough medicine, and not allow any overly vigorous strides to snap the fragile handles of a compostable carrier bag during my elongated journey home. The golden rays of a late British summer's westering sun rendered a far rosier image of the unsettled present than did a multitude of our mainstream media's incendiary news headlines, cherry-picked and aggressively promoted within the algorithmically curated news feeds of their digital distributors, not least Apple's highly toxic Grapevine. Each article an embodiment of responsible journalism, painting sharply contrasting pictures of certain peace talks between influential leaders of liberated and subjugated nations, all neatly ensconced behind paywalls, and charging premium subscribers over the price of a daily single small batch espresso for the privilege of reading beyond their provocative opening paragraphs. This radical claim assumes that the applicable connoisseur of Britain's favourite bean-based beverage brews their own shots in average quantities weighing 7 grams each, and hence makes a quarter-kilo bag last a sip or two longer than 35 days. Still here, moving there. Roused at 2 a.m. from Coach Sandman's capricious realm of make-believe for the mind's restless eye by a disorderly ensemble of cantankerous crows and marauding magpies, whose relentless cacophony of caws and cackles formed the strident overture of what promised to be a perpetually percussive dawn chorus. After ushering a pair of reticent legs down 2 flights of stairs, I flipped a tarnished 10-pence piece that had been sitting on my kitchen windowsill, awaiting constructive use since last year's family-funded outing to Worthing Pier. My options were either heads, a 3-mile power plod along the paved promenades and shingle-shod boardwalks of Shoreham's overcast peninsula, or tails. This borderline bass-tempo beatdown beside the sun-soaked sands, through the subaquatic tunnels, and over the tastefully textured tarmac of a world lovingly rendered to realise the itchy-footed role-player's most radical fantasies, where rich fortune continues to favour consistency, and experience shall forever reap its own fashionable rewards. The coin toss came up heads, though I pedalled against the grain and plumped for pixelated pretense. Whether that shows I have more or less control over what common sense informs me is real life right now remains debatable, since by electing to base my decisions on a coordinated chance happening itself arguably demonstrates significant indecisiveness, though choosing the opposite of what the late Queen Elizabeth declared I should do by landing face up could be viewed as an act of free will, unless of course fate was pulling my frayed strings the entire time. In any case, 50 flatteringly low-friction kilometres in a physics-defying 80-odd minutes, excluding the coasted coffee break, should provide ample enough deep thinking time to determine the ultimate answer. From a profoundly heartfelt perspective, as well as the tightly strapped vantage point of my arm-mounted cardiologist, this near half-metric's closing 30 minutes were perceived as a tad more toilsome than would be typical when cranking out grass-green power. A zonal disparity I shan't venture to decipher, though maybe my comfort cave's muggy microclimate could have benefited from an extra swipe or two of touch-sensitive headwind, to more accurately replicate the clement coastal breeze that my avatar swore he sensed drifting across the docks every time he prepared to tackle the boulevard's snaking switchbacks.